When I was 10 years old, I saw Reservoir Dogs. It's a rated 18 film, so I was far too young to see it at the time, but I had a cool dad who let me see it on DVD. Thanks, Dad. At the time, I had no interest in films. I could barely sit through an episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends without running off to play with my Action Man and stuffed gorilla toy. I still remember you, Mr. Squiggles. Yet, whilst assisting in my own useless way to help my cousin move, I came across his DVD copy of Reservoir Dogs. It was this cover, and it intrigued me. Frankly, I'd never seen a DVD cover that was orange before. In my young mind, that alone made me want to watch it. I had no idea what it was, what it contained, who it starred, anything. I just liked the cover. So sitting down, we put the film on and we watched it. It changed my life. It made me fall in love with films. Never before had I been so transfixed to the screen. Never before, ever, under any circumstance, under any condition, throughout my entire young life had I felt so tense. I was completely riveted. I still recall my emotions whilst watching individual scenes. I can be that specific because this film experience stayed with me and will stay with me for the rest of my life. I won't explain everything I felt, because I don't have 2 hours free, but I will explain how a misheard line of dialogue made me fall in love with film. Every moment of the film was new and exciting for me. The opening scene of dialogue that was so casual, so spur of the moment, that seemingly was making no point or adding anything to the plot. That was all fascinating to me. I was unsure what was happening or why. All I knew was that I wanted to find out more. You have to keep in mind I was 10. I wasn't even really interested in films. Everything I'd seen up to that point on a screen had been aimed at young children. Cartoons, animated films, and mostly things with Johnny Depp in. These were products which got straight to the point with plot, and they had clearly defined tropes like good guys and bad guys. But Reservoir Dogs, in just the opening scene, I had no idea who to trust, or why, or even who these people were. It was new and it was exciting. To see a bunch of grown men walking down the street in slow motion to music was a revelation to me. So cool, so relaxed, so simply interesting. But the next scene, after the credits, the scene where Mr. White drives a bloodied and shot Mr. Orange to the warehouse, was the very moment I realised that my whole mind, my whole being, was going to change. I'd never seen such a brutal aftermath of violence before. I'd certainly never seen blood in a movie before. All this I watched with trepidation, yet fascination. But then, when Mr. Orange is carried into the warehouse and the door swings open, that was the moment that made me want to find out about the idea of film. Let me explain. Up until this point in my life, I had no idea that films were made. You're probably thinking I'm stupid, but when I was a child, I had no idea whatsoever that people had to make a film. It wasn't until after I saw Reservoir Dogs and spoke to my father that I learned what goes into making a film. A director, actors, camera, a script. Somehow, I just believed the people on the screen knew what to say and do, and that they were kind of performing it just for me. When Mr. White carries Mr. Orange into the warehouse just after he enters, he says a line. This line, at the time, I heard as, "Yes, baby man!" She had a baby, man. This fascinated me. What was he referencing? This line stuck with me and got me thinking as to why he said that. After the film was over, I asked my father that question. Why did he say she had a baby, man? He answered, because the script told him to say that. And that was it. It started my love of film. Once I learned what a script was, I learned about actors, and then I learned about directors, and then I learned about cameras, and etc. and etc. Learning that a film could be made me fall in love with film. It wasn't until years later on my own DVD copy that I watched a film with subtitles, and I found out the line is supposedly, "Yes, baby man! You gotta save me, man." I disagree. I still think he said she had a baby, man. It works better with character, it works better with plot. But I digress. The point I am trying to make is that only by realising and recognising the fact that movies were physically made, physically put together, did it make me discover how much I loved films. I owe such a debt to Reservoir Dogs and to Quentin Tarantino for making me realise what a film could be. It made my heart pound. It was edge of my seat viewing. It allowed me to recognise that films were things that were made. And if other people could make them, why couldn't I?